Welcome to the town hall, the February 27th town hall of 2024. I'm Deb Lawrence and I'm the president of IPA-USA. And I'm just going to give you a brief introduction about who we are because people go, I'm not really quite sure who you are and what you do. So I thought it might be a good idea to have a little introduction, won't take long. And then we're going to turn it over to Amanda and to Tessa for our presentation tonight. I have lots of people entering the waiting room, so give me just 1 second. Lots of people coming in. Okay, so IPA USA is the USA affiliate of the International Play Association. And IPA World is made up of 23 countries. Hold on, Aaron's coming in. Thank you. Are you guys letting them in? Thank you very much. IPA USA is like the USA branch of IPA World that is 23 countries. And our whole vision and mission is to create a world where all children can play. And children for us are birthed through the age of 18, though many college professors are on this, and college professors play with their students all the time, and adults play, and seniors play. So it's really a lifespan sort of endeavor that we all do. And so we're very, very focused on advocating for the ratification of the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. And unfortunately, we are the only country that is in the United Nations that has failed to do that. We act as a resource. In fact, the president of IPA World was at the UN today talking about creating an international day of play for young children across the world. And our primary goal is to not only advocate for play, but to increase awareness about the importance of play. And so those of you who may not be familiar with the Convention on the Rights of the Child, these are its 54 sort of articles about what is involved in the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. And as I said, 196 countries have ratified it, but we have not. We're the only exception in the UN. And there's a lot of reasons for that, many of them political. So we won't get into that, but you'll notice that in these 54 articles, there's lots that we're already doing, and there's lots that we failed to do. So that's the other reason why we have not yet ratified the UN Convention. So really, our whole mission and vision and purpose is to ensure that children are able to play, that people understand the importance of play, that everybody sees it as a biological necessity, not something you do for recreation, that communities need to plan for play. Families need to understand the importance of play because they're so concerned about their children being ready because of all the pressure of academics as children get into school. And all kinds of play are important. And so it's also important to know how we define play. So there's a couple of definitions. It's vital to children developing their potential. Play is instinctive, voluntary, spontaneous, pleasurable. Children feel a sense of achievement, and it leads to their whole physical and emotional well-being. Peter Gray defines play as self-chosen, self-directed, intrinsically motivated, and guided by mental rules that allows for creativity and imagination. Children should be alert, active, and relatively in a non-stressed frame of mind. And so that is play to us. It is not play with a purpose. It is not, we're going to play as part of recreation or a break. It is an essential part of a child's development. And so porch play chats are one of the other ways that we advocate for play. And we have over 193 already taped, and we're doing more tapings in March and April and in June and July. And if you are interested in doing a porch play chat, all you have to be is a person that's willing to have a conversation about your passion for play. And we welcome everyone to do a porch play chat. They're 25 to 30 minutes long. It's a conversation, there's no presentation. And we have a lot of fun while we're on those porch play chats. This is our, let's see, I have to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th town hall. Our town halls are free, and I'm going to show you where they are on the website in a second. We did 2 in 2021, 1 in 2022, 1 in 2023, and today is 2024, primarily because we had a world conference, IPA World Conference in Glasgow last summer, and the fall before that in 2022, we had our conference. So tonight, we're going to hear from Amanda and Tessa on shifting the mindset, the key to creating confident guides. And so I'm hoping you'll be ready to ask your questions in the chat box, and then I'll interrupt them at an appropriate time when we have several questions based on what they're talking about, and we'll get those questions answered for you. But I also want you to know that our upcoming conference in 2024 is September 25th through 28th in Greenville, South Carolina. And we just released the call for proposals, and we'll release the registration in mid to late April. So we hope to see you there. It's a fun time. Fun will be had by all. And if you're interested in organizing a play day for your community or for your program, the week of September 21st, that's a Saturday, we welcome you. We had many sites that did our National Day of Play this last year, and we're hoping to have even more this coming year. So those are a few of the things that we do. This is our website, and let me know if you can see it. Can you see the IPA-USA website? Anybody, everybody? Okay, great. I just wanted to show you here is the link to our Facebook page. If you friend us on Facebook, magically, every Monday morning, a new porch play chat will appear in your feed. You can follow us on Instagram. You can follow us. What is it on Instagram again, Amanda? What are they supposed to do? Like it? What is it? I am not good at that. Right? Say it again.
Follow it.
Follow on Instagram or subscribe to our YouTube channel, and then you get all of that stuff. If you're interested in the conference, we've begun to build the pages for the conference, and we always give awards for the Child's Right to Play Advocacy Award and the Doctor of Play Award. And then these previous events is where you'll find the other town halls that have been done, and they have all been amazing. So I'm going to stop now. Oh, I just want to show you one more thing. If you're interested in porch play chats, we've been doing them since 2020. And so you can go to each one of these years, and there are direct links to the YouTube video of those porch play chats. And they're on a variety of topics, all dedicated to the child's right to play. Okay, I'm going to stop my share, and I'm going to turn it over to Amanda and Tessa. Thanks for your patience as I went through there.
Well, that's great stuff. Important information for all. Okay, so bear with us while we, not like that, share our screen. Okay. All right. So just to get a double check, can you see our first slide that says confident guides? Yeah, a couple of nods. Thank you. Would someone say okay? Okay. Hi. I'm Tessa. I think we have a couple of introductory slides here. My name is Tessa Baden. I'm blurry every now and then. Sorry, squirrel. So this is a little bit about me. That's me in the tire. I've got two daughters, an 8-year-old and a 3-year-old. That's my backyard. The mud pit is my backyard mud pit. And I have a personal mission statement that I created. And so I just like to align every conversation around it, is that I advocate peace for every child and those who guide them in all spaces and experiences always.
All right, I'm Amanda McMickle, and that's a picture of my two boys there. I do also have a daughter. She's 23. I tried to put a picture in there and it wasn't working right, but just know that she's awesome and amazing, and don't tell her she's not in the picture. What's under there? Let's see. So I am a nature-based school leader, and I've been doing that. I've been in education for over 20 years, but in nature-based education for 10. And so I grow nature schools, scale them, all of those things, and have been doing that and love it so much. I'm also a doctoral candidate at the University of the Incarnate Word. And some of the local things that I do, I'm part of the leadership of OLE Texas, which is outdoor learning environments in Texas, which is an initiative of the Department of Human Health Services. And then we're developing a COBOR, which is a Children's Outdoor Bill of Rights here in San Antonio that I'm a part of. Outdoor learning in Texas is aligned a lot with what we're going to be talking about, but just supporting teachers and taking learning outdoors. And then NEST is a regional group I run for nature-based education support in Texas. So Tessa and I have known each other for about 10 years also, but have been working really closely together for the past 2 years on supporting teachers in nature play and outdoor learning. And so we're going to share a big piece of what we do together with you guys tonight. All right, so in this work, what we have kind of developed, what we started is we said, okay, we're going to work with teachers on helping them get kids outside, right? And take learning outside. And that could be like what a lot of people think about nature-based learning, which is environmental science, but it could be all content areas. Our big goal was just to get kids outside. And through the doing these training sessions, we developed a framework of how to do this successfully with the most impact with the time we're allotted, which most of the time we spend an entire day with teachers for our sessions. One of the most recent ones we've done was 1 hour. But if we go through each part of this each piece of this framework that we're going to go through with you guys tonight, it has the most impact on building confidence to take learning outdoors and to take kids outside. Anything you want to add to that?
I think just to share, I mean, I didn't share a lot about like my past, but one of my, where our goals exist is that we want the most children to be, have access to outside in meaningful ways. And I have worked many years in Texas public schools. And so this year has been a big push for me to work inside of programs that are less likely to have nature-based philosophies, and how we align and create these people who can see that all children deserve access and can have access without losing anything else. So I think public school spaces have been kind of this last year's work is really thinking about how to do this with any educator or child guide, not just at a nature-based school. So.
Right. And I'm glad you brought that up, because initially when we started doing these, we would have them at nature organizations like botanical gardens or zoos. We even, did it at some of my schools that I worked with. And of course, what we'd hear from a lot of teachers is like, well, of course you're taking them outside here. Look at this space. It's beautiful. So we incorporated training sessions that were actually at public schools to show them that just given the, oftentimes, unfortunately, the kind of like barren, big, wide open spaces, that they could have meaningful experiences outdoors with children. And so that really had a big impact as well.
And we'll talk a little bit more about location here in just a little bit, but we're in all of those spaces.
So we're going to talk through our framework with you, but also invite you to experience the components of the framework as well. So starting with the first one, which is what you see here on the framework on the left top side, is the connect to self. And so what we're going to do is we're going to ask you to find a sheet of paper and a pencil nearby, and just take a couple of minutes to jot down the answers to these questions. Really focus on confidence. So what is confidence? What does it look like, sound like, feel like, and how do you get confident? So just your initial responses, almost like a little journal of the answers to these questions.
We're going to set a quick timer to allow you some quiet time without interruption to really think about this and write it down. And we will be using this in a few minutes as we go through our framework. So I'm going to set a timer for a couple of minutes.
Okay, you can just wrap up what you're writing. I'm so curious what they wrote about confidence, and even just thinking through, like, what is that? What does confidence sound like and feel like? So we'll be sharing those in a minute. So just keep it handy by your side.
Sure. Okay, so when we are in person doing this framework, we don't actually stop after this section to discuss what it means to do this section. But it's important that we share a little bit of why we do a connect with self. So it's vital for any person to have any kind of mind shift adjustment or confidence builder, is to check in with where they currently are when they arrive at a training. So when you think about someone who comes to a training or comes to a situation where they're supposed to be increasing their capacity in some way, that if we aren't mindful first, that sometimes we start with what to do and all the things, and we forget to really center ourselves in the space and in the group. And before we can do that, we really have to check in with where we are. So we do moment for mindfulness. It really helps. This whole framework is very layered. So for someone to sit in a question or a thought for a moment, they can really start to identify their own perspective or thoughts on something before someone else starts to talk. And what we notice is that when you have that quiet moment, it actually elevates every section of the framework thereafter. So we notice that that members will identify some strengths, maybe some hurdles, a perspective, during that quiet think time with no interruptions. We find that educators really become in tune, and they even align sometimes themselves with a little bit of their why, which I know that's thrown around a lot, is we all need to remember our why, but it does kind of support that. And it really helps to align later with the content. And we are put content here in parentheses, in quotations here, and you'll see words like content throughout the presentation, because what we mean is whatever it is that is supposed to be learned that day. Today, we're talking about building outdoor confident guides, but really this framework can be used for any content anywhere, whether you're with children, adults who are learning how to be better team members at their corporate office, or building outdoor guides.
Yeah, and this is like probably today, right? When you hopped onto this Zoom, you probably got home from work, or you're, like again, me just now, like shuffling kids around and doing all of that, and just having a moment to connect with yourself just allows you to be more present in the training. And often what we find is it just allows for that presence and that buy-in. I mean, if you can imagine, if your content maybe is nature play, and you're working with educators or adults on what nature play is, rather than you just coming in and say, okay, this is what nature play is, that buy-in will be increased if you say, take a moment to think about how you played in nature as a child, right? Just that moment to connect will increase the presence and the buy-in.
Right, and Amanda takes us right into each of our framework. Today we're here to talk about the whys and the hows. So what she just said was another question that was directly related to the content in which you are trying to elevate with the capacity of the people who are present. So we have 3 ways that we have found are the most impactful, which is a question, a quote, or a piece of research or a statistic. For example, we talked a little bit about the rate of suicide in one of ours when we were talking about our connection to nature and the importance about being outside. And one of ours that was more about pre-K literacy skills. We talked, we used a question or a quote that was talking about, I think the question was, what are you more confident with? Like, or what was your writing style when you were growing up and stuff like that. So every time you think about what you're going to use to connect with self, we want to connect it to whatever the content is.
Yeah, it's just a bit of that reflection, just to connect the self to the presentation is really important.
Before we move on, are there just any questions, or you can throw in the chat box if there's questions about that connect with self, or maybe you have a connect with self example that you has worked for you in your work. We're going to kind of keep moving because we have a short period of time, but we would love to hear some of your thoughts or thinking through the chat box if you're willing.
All right, so the next piece of the framework after you connect to the self is allowing a time and a prompt and a space to connect with each other. And how we often do this throughout our sessions is by the use of circles. And probably many of you have experienced circles, led circles. There's different ways to do this. We were really inspired, of course, by Parker Palmer and his work with circles. And so we just kind of developed a framework that we kind of use, that we are going to invite you all to use here in a moment.
Don't forget to follow us for more news. After several
in a breakout room.
It's an important informational update on the matter.
Make sure everybody's on mute.
Okay,
There
great.
we go. Thank you.
Sure. So in circles, as you know, when this is a little bit different context because we're in a Zoom and not in an actual physical circle, but there is something that really connects people when they are in a physical circle. But some of these expectations or guides can work in the Zoom room as well. But really, a circle does provide a sense of belonging. And what we tell all of our participants is your presence is a gift. Whatever you are moved to share or not is exactly what the people in the group need. Okay. So when we invite you to share, if you immediately feel moved to share your experience, your insight, please do so. if you feel like you need a moment to be quiet and reflect and just listen, that is exactly what we need, right? There's beauty in the insight and words, and there's beauty in the space and quiet. So however you show up is exactly what the others in the group need. And also, you know, circles is just a space to share and connect. You'll kind of always hear that word connect throughout this framework. And that's exactly the purpose of each piece of this framework. And so circles, again, is, you know, an opportunity to connect to each other. So don't feel like you need to, you know, have some really mind-blowing insight or a story to share. Don't feel like you need to solve someone's problem if they're, you know, having a concern. This is just, you know, an opportunity to connect. So just be open-minded and seek to understand and learn and gain from the group. And then, of course, honor confidentiality. And so this is a space for people to share. And so when we go into the breakout rooms, you will have an opportunity to share, you know, what we were just writing on, but also we're going to come back and share. And so make sure if we share together as a whole group that you're sharing what you know the group would want you and feel comfortable with you sharing.
Yeah, I think that when you are inspired to try a circle, if you haven't yet, is to really be clear for learners like Tessa. I'm Tessa. We don't know each other that well, but I was the kid that was always on red. Okay. I need to be reminded about silence. Okay. I need to be reminded that silence is not a bad thing. And so when we introduce circles to early childhood educators or high school educators, no matter, and everyone in between, we talk a little bit about, we introduced the idea of the silence. And did you already say that? I'm sorry, because I was very distracted. So,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So yeah, just kind of sharing about how that's normal, and that to sit in the silence a little bit is to lean on the vulnerability of the conversation and the thoughts that are being provoked within the group. So
awesome. So we're going to put you into breakout rooms, and you're going to share what you jotted down about confidence, right? And what it is, what it sounds like, feels like, how you get it with those in your group. How many minutes are we going to have for this?
we'll start with we'll probably do between 5 and 10 minutes of some sort when we I want for 10, but I don't know where we're at with our timing. So
yeah,
5-ish minutes,
right,
to share.
So within your group, as much as you can, mimic a circle experience in your breakout room, and share again your writing prompt when you connect it to self about confidence. And we will share a little note when we're getting close to the end of that time.
Okay. If you get into a group and no one is there because people are busy with life, please come back to the main room so that we can talk to you. We do not want you sitting alone in a room. Okay.
Welcome back.
The breakout rooms have 36 seconds. So if I know any of these people well, they are going to take every second to finish their thought.
I accidentally bumped myself out of the room before I meant to.
Don't you hate that? And I was like, I was in the middle of, I was about to have a very impactful moment from someone's share.
Yeah. Then I left.
So just to get y'all thinking, people are coming back. Start thinking about what you might want to share out loud. We're hoping that people will turn their cameras on and speak to us. Although we do understand anyone who would like to share, we want you to use the chat box if that's more comfortable. We're gonna share, make sure you're sharing your own story unless you have permission to share someone else's input before you left your group. But yeah, we want to hear from you all. So what kinds of things, when we're thinking about what is confidence, what does it feel like, what does it sound like, and how do you get it? And remember those Parker Palmer or those circles, right? So silence is golden, but also sharing when you feel called to.
Tessa, I can share a little bit that something that came up in our discussion that I thought was really cool was you get confidence a little bit by showing up for things that you're not confident about, right? It's a little bit like risky play for children. You have to kind of show up and take the risk and show to yourself that it's, you know, something that maybe you can do, or a skill that you can develop, or something you're willing to continue to put time in.
Yes, thank you for sharing that.
So true. Alex, you have your hand raised? Oh, I know. Yeah, you.
Looks like she's trying to unmute.
Oh,
It's always so tricky on the phone. I feel like I should be good at this by now. But we were talking about confidence, and somehow it depends on like who's in the room and how you like feel with that. So I was just sharing with them, because of my somatic work and being just so in tune with my own body and how it's reacting, and then the energy other people bring to space, is I just kind of use that as my barometer of like, maybe I need to listen a little bit more before I decide to engage, so that I kind of know how I'm going to blend with another person. But other times somebody can make you feel very comfortable right away, and it's a very natural thing. And so just being aware to those different situations and how that helps formulate your own embodiment of confidence.
thank you so much.
Yeah, and that makes me think of like when you're confident, like the focus you have. Like when I think about walking into the grocery store, right? Like I've been there 100 times, like thousands of times. I'm very confident. I'm just going and I'm like focused. Where if I'm less confident, I kind of like, who else is walking in? Am I doing this right? And is this, do we move fast? Do we move slow? Like it's almost, you're a little bit more easily distracted, maybe, is kind of how it feels too. That's what that made me think about as well. Anyone else?
I see another hand raised, and then Heather wrote in the chat box, let's hear from Kate. And then if Heather, if you're okay with it, I might share what you've put in the chat box.
Sure.
Kate, did you want to share?
Yeah, so when it came to like how do you get confidence, I put like, you practice that thing, or you gain experience from it. I can say from personal experience, I've only been in childcare working with little children um for about a year now. My 1 year anniversary is coming up. Yay. So, um, so, in the beginning, I wasn't very confident in what I was doing, because, this is my first time doing it. But as the year has gone along, I've gained more experience and I've practiced some of the things, and I'm a bit more confident now. But I'm hoping that as time goes on, I will gain more experience and become more confident in the work that I do.
Yeah, there's some very key words being shared here, Kate. Thank you so much. And I love Kate, the way that you hold yourself. I'm like, it's helping me like not be so nervous. Like you're a very cadence of sound. It's really good for young children, by the way. I don't have that. I wasn't born with that skill. I'm still gaining confidence and slowing down. So thank you so much. There were some key words I'm hearing though, time, experience. And then two of you kind of talked about the areas, and I think you shared a little bit about when you're feeling not very confident. And that's Heather said in the chat box, I found it easier to think about how I feel when I'm not confident. I can recall kind of the physical things about my body. And that's tuning into what Alex said. Alex, right? Did I say that? Yeah. With, being aware, noticing things in your own self when you're thinking about these things. And linked to a lot of people are saying they really like the link to the risky play. I think we probably have a room full of people here that are fine with risky play. And so how are we using our analogies, things that we are confident in, to now talking about this building confidence in child guides. And Stephanie, for me, confidence is belief. Oh, Maria, would it be okay if I shared out what you put in the chat box? Is that okay? Confidence is belief in oneself and abilities. I think it looks like speaking up, but not always needing to be the first one to speak, taking some risk and knowing no matter the outcome, you'll be okay. And knowing that whatever space you do decide to speak up in is a place where you will be okay. Right. And all of that. So, I can go for group. Oh, Jim, were you wanting a turn to talk?
Yeah.
Go ahead. It's you're on.
Sorry. Okay. What does it what did it sound like? I kind of just thought of things that kids say, like I did it, and I can control this, and laughter, and look at this. It's kind of what it sounds like to me. It kind of feels brave, I guess, in a way, and I think it can be gotten from a culture that celebrates failure, and imagine a kid that's just shut down after the first time, and so just the opportunity to try and to try again if you fail, and play, of course. I had a head of a school one time. I had gone and done a program during their half day teacher work day, and after it was over, he said, "You give kids confidence, huh?" And I had never really sort of thought of that. I see it all the time. We all see it if kids are playing. So get the grad students in our group to say something too, but their stuff is going to be very erudite.
Well, and that makes me wonder too, like, how do you know when you can tick the box that you're confident in something, right? Like, what is that? Is it that feeling? I was just thinking as you're talking, like, is it that independent factor of like, I know I'm confident in, for example, multiplying double digits when I can do it independently, or when I can go to this new store by myself? Like, is that confident? Like, it just makes me wonder, like, thinking about taking kids outside or encouraging adults to being confident in taking kids and learning outside. Like, when do they know that what they've gotten it, right? So what does that look like and sound like and feel like? So awesome.
Okay, so the other thing I was going to say is so celebrating failure. When you think about creating confident outdoor guides, which is the content for today, we think about how many children are in a room right now with someone who hasn't thought about being outside in a long time, and what to do outside, or how to manage being outside, or what does outside offer, And so when I wrote down what you said, celebrates failure, and I wrote public education, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, because so many people in public education are siloed into thinking they have to know everything for every kid in their class, and that's it, right? And if they don't and so I love the idea that confidence is explained, or helping illustrate confidence is the idea of accepting failure as a part of the process, and getting out there and experiencing things. So there have been so many great words thrown around here. For timing, we're going to move forward. I know.
I just had one more thing.
Yes. And if you also have something, you can keep using the chat box, because you guys are really learning from each other in there. So
no, but I think is an interesting component that I think use a lot when we are trying to gain confidence in something is vulnerability. Like, I can't tell you how many times that I've gone into something, I'm like stressed and nervous. I'm not confident in it. And I'll go to someone and be like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Can you tell I have no idea what I'm doing? And then they laugh, and I'm like, okay, now that we've gotten that out of the way, that I don't know what I'm doing, now I feel more confident because I've kind of put that out there. And so I think even when you take kids outside, to have some vulnerability will boost your confidence. So saying like, all right, kids, I feel like this is not going this plan. Can we come together and just talk about kind of what we're doing out here again, because I feel like maybe we need to go outside, go back inside, and I know you all don't want to go back inside. So help me. I'm not feeling confident. Showing some vulnerability too is a quick way to like reset and take us, rather than feeling like that independence, going in it together as a group of like, okay, I need you. Like, I'm feeling a little vulnerable here. Help me be confident in doing this.
Yeah, vulnerability is something that is not easy for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just realized that our slides, we didn't follow the slides directly because we're used to being outside with teachers, and so this whole PowerPoint on Zoom thing we're vulnerable. We're being vulnerable with you right now. So just to go, these are a few pictures of our actual trainings. So we just want to share this with you. These are our real teachers here that have participated in some of our sessions in the last few years. And these are some examples of how we use that circle up kind of physicality of the training. We already did the next We already did this. You went into groups and discussed it. Yay. Okay, keep going. Okay, so a little bit of the why and the how for this section, connecting with each other. So the why is the impact of storytelling. I know that many of us have a belief in storytelling. And so we believe that through our framework and through our experiences in the last year, we've realized how much storytelling should be used in professional development. Always, right? As often as possible, people should be telling their stories, and that builds their confidence and it makes their connections. It really supports perspective. I mean, you all just now in this few minutes of working together and then using the chat box and communicating with each other, we have learned and noticed so many different perspectives, analogies that we're taking away. Oh, I love that. You know, people saying trust, someone saying kiss. Oh my gosh, I love that idea that you shared in the chat box. And we're realizing that a community's capacity is always going to be better than an individual's capacity. And so connecting to self is so very important, but also connecting the stories to one another is part of the professional development, and it cannot be skipped, right? It's so powerful. Strength in community. I wrote mirror neurons in there. I'm a really big believer in mirror neurons and how they can work in professional development, which, you know, anyway. And then opportunity for connections to content. So again, here we see that word content. So whatever the content is, this working with each other is we're helping to search for moments to connect to the content. So I don't know if you noticed, I was not texting friends while y'all were talking. I was writing down all the words that you were sharing because it's my goal to continue making connections. And you all have access to the chat box. And in real life, we don't have a chat box. There's no one playing like telephone, right? But we're writing down things because it's so vital to connect what people are confident already with to the next thing that we're getting them to try and push forward in. So if we are all, this whole group of people here gathered today is thinking about how do we get more children outside, anywhere, no matter where they are, and playing, we need to connect to these child guides' strengths and build upon and making those connections. So every time an adult shares something, a story, the person who's facilitating has got to be taking notes. And of course, with children, the teacher's got to be taking notes, right? We got to find as many connections as possible.
Yeah, and one example of that, when we did this one time, someone shared about how she felt bad because she started off the morning on the wrong foot with her husband. And she felt really guilty about that. And so all day, like every conversation, we're like, I mean, yeah, I think, you know, thinking about how, you know, the positives of your husband and what he brings you. And like, we'd laugh about it and be like, and then we joke and be like, oh, that poor husband right now, like he's probably eating lunch alone. And like, we just kept bringing in this, like, this story that she told that really by the end of the day, we were so connected and we all wanted to go home and like hug our partners and like show them how much we valued them. It loosely connected to the content, but it just made everyone buy into it as a community, just more intentionally, I think.
Yeah, well, an analogy, it's like the risky play thing right here. It came up several times very quickly. So if we connected everything to all the conversation today to kind of that risky play analogy, we're all going to take away a very well articulated, you know, what was the last night about? Oh, well, it's kind of like risky play because I'm really confident about that. And now I'm taking that and I'm applying it now. I'm
Okay,
seeing.
we have two questions.
Okay.
Yes. The first one is, you've used child guide several times. Would you give us a short definition? And then the second one is define mirror neurons.
Oh, okay. Yes. So let me see, what would be the definition? So mirror neurons is when my definition of mirror neurons, and I am not a scientist, I'm an early childhood specialist, right? I think of the mirror neurons as matching and understanding someone. So like a baby sticks out their tongue and you stick out your tongue, or you smile at a baby and the baby's going to smile back at you. It's kind of like the matching of someone's affect. And that could be a very loose, please do not quote me on that. So if you have more information about mirror neurons, because you are you know exactly, please use the chat box. I'll be vulnerable here and welcome as many definitions as humanly possible. For child guide, I have always, I keep reflecting, my whole life in education has been reflecting on what terms I use for what. And child guide, I am used to saying, but even in the last about 4.5 months or so, I have questioned my use of even that, because I made my personal mission statement about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago. It was during the pandemic, so it's probably closer to 3 years now. And in there it says child guide, or those who advocate peace for children and those who guide them. But I'm like, guidance, is that really the right word? Because children don't really, some children don't really need a guide. I mean, they're our guide. And so I feel like my mission statement and the words I use are constantly changing. So when I am saying child guide for this purpose, it means anyone who spends any time around a child, because I believe that spending any time around a child is whether you're purposefully or accidentally guiding or modeling something, you are. So
Sending messages. Yeah.
Okay.
I was just going to add too that I feel like the mirror neurons and the child guide really connect, because it's like you were saying, how they are often the ones teaching us. If we allow, like if we put our ego aside and we're able to stop the emotional charge of how they're triggering us and say, what is it that you're showing me? Because that kind of relates to the mirror thing. Any situation we're in, what we are seeing in someone else is really what we need to see within ourselves. And so it's always, I always think of it as like a mode of inquiry and just remaining curious about it without throwing self-judgment on ourselves, because then that's where we get into some of the lower emotions, and we can stay in the more positive emotions if we just allow ourselves to notice and get curious about why maybe we're seeing something in someone else that maybe we don't like, or maybe we really do like it and they're just mirroring back to us a quality we don't see in ourselves.
Exactly. All
Okay,
right.
so go ahead.
Oh, so just how we do this, like we said, we often do this with circles. And when we do this in person, usually it's a day long. So we'll start the day with a circle. Before we leave to lunch, we'll have a circle. When we get back from lunch, we'll have a circle. And then when we leave, so we kind of incorporate them throughout the day. And then we just like we were saying, like with risky play or the husband kind of joke that ran through the day, just finding those ways for participants to feel comfortable in sharing throughout the day really allows us to connect really deeply with one another. And then like Tessa did, just take, she's really good about just constantly like making those connections throughout, but especially as someone new in this work, to be taking notes and like, like Jim said, or, like Alex said, just making kind of looping and spiraling back to those conversations or those points or the highlights really allows for people to connect to one another. And here's just good connections to people, allowing space for people. And what we have found, another thing that was really important that we didn't mention that we found in this work is when we started, and you'll get this because this is the way our society is, we wanted to fill up the entire day of training these guides, like from start to finish. By the second one, we were like, let's have an objective in the morning and an objective in the afternoon, slowing down, allowing for presence and connection was so valuable. And then we started thinking about like, why are we not doing this with students in schools? Why are we like having an objective for like every minute of the day? Like, let's be more intentional and less is more kind of to really make sure that they have confidence in mastering the skills we're trying to help them with. All right,
Okay.
the next one, our favorite
part,
one.
because we've been talking a lot. We want you to actually, we would really encourage you to use the next few minutes to actually get up and go outside if you are able.
Yes, yes.
However, if you're not,
right, then you can do this in the room you're in right now. But we're gonna give you some time to connect to your space, right? And so we're going to give you 5 minutes. Are we feeling good about that?
yeah, let's do 5.
Okay. So you're going to either step outside if you're like, I think it's D who's already outside, you're gonna connect to your space. And so find something in your environment to connect to. And the way I often say this is like, find something that speaks to you or speaks to your heart, or something, maybe something you don't often notice, and connect to that. So it could be a leaf, it could be a squirrel climbing up a tree, it could be a picture frame that you walk by every day and barely notice anymore. But take 5 minutes to connect to something in your environment and be open to curiosity and then approach it with curiosity. So, you know, what does it feel like? How did it get here? What does it signify? What does it mean to me? All of those things. And then also, if you're able to use your 5 senses, touch it, smell it, you know, if you're outside, like listen to it, do different things, really just connect to the natural element or thing in your environment. And then a couple questions, if you're, you know, if you're still struggling with how to connect to it, is ask yourself these 2 questions. What does it make you wonder? And what does it remind you of? And those will help too. So we're going to give you 5 minutes, find something to connect with, and we will see you back here at 6:30. Back. We're going to ask you guys to share what you connected to. I brought mine from outside, inside these little berries I found on the ground. Made me wonder where they came from. But we invite you guys, let's hear what did you connect with in your space?
Does anyone? I'll go.
Yes.
I had the window open, so I used the air, the wind, and it made me curious about why it's 70 degrees in Chicago in February. And it feels nice. The breeze is warm, like it's summer. And I wondered how it got here and if it's the sign of something more sinister or it's just a natural change and it'll just be a warmer climate. And it reminds me of the breeze. It reminds me of summertime when I was dating my now husband. So a long time ago.
Wow, what a great memory.
Thank you for sharing.
Kim?
Hi. I went outside and of course I have my dog with me, so he was very excited. But I have like a field behind my backyard, so I've been seeing a lot of geese right now and they've been flying around in it. And it's a little bit windy, but it's still 65 degrees, so which is really nice. But it's mainly as of right now just seeing geese right now.
Thank you for sharing. Looks like Ellen wants a turn to share what she connected with outside. Oh, I think you're on mute.
How about now?
Perfect.
I don't know if you can see this magnificent tree,
Yes.
but it reminds me of my childhood, which I think is the draw. I wrote, it's a live oak tree. It's strong. It speaks to confidence. It's healthy and beautiful. How did it come to be? I don't know. I don't know if it was planted by a squirrel, a human, a storm brought the acorn here that grew it. I wonder, I wonder what this tree has seen, what it has experienced during its long life. Who has climbed it? Who has played under its leaves? Who has swung from its branches? It reminded me of climbing a fig tree in our backyard as a child and just really enjoying being there and eating the figs and being out in nature.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Connection to confidence was beautiful. And Jim?
So I went on into my front yard. Y'all got any like that?
We're getting some feedback. Sometimes it's when you have 2 logged in.
About now.
Oh, perfect. There you go.
Okay. I went into my front yard and, well, I didn't mean to, but I connected with the wet, cold ground because I had my socks on. And but I went out to find the crocus that blooms around this time of year in our front yard. And there it is. Lovely little ephemeral crocus. And it made me realize that I really don't go outside that much when it's dark, you know, and it was kind of fun just walking around out in the front yard. So.
Oh, that's really neat. Yeah. Yeah. Same with me. I walk past those little berries every time I go out, leave the house, and I never once picked one up and opened it to see what was inside. Like what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my favorite part of this is how Amanda like encouraged you all to like think about what does it make you wonder when we think about, to connect this a little bit to creating increasing the capacity of teachers or educators or people who are around children to feel comfortable being outside. We got to think about their own curiosity. And when they have a question they want to answer, adults will go after the answer. I mean, often we'll just use Google or something like that. We need to be using more of our senses as a model to show how to find answers for, you know, learners of any age. But also, what do we learn from children who are curious? So when, you know, if you're a person who is around children, the children are already they're already creating the projects. They already have the opportunity for content. It's when the adult slows down enough to listen and notice and be just as curious is when sometimes the community of learners then slows down and realizes what content is actually available right outside your door. And so, yeah.
Yeah. And I was just going to say, just to go into the next slide, but it really connects to the picture on this one is we invited teachers to find a spot out, and this was at a public school campus, and to lay down and look up at the clouds and just have time just to look up at the clouds and wonder. And so many of them said, like, I can't remember the last time I did that. Like it hasn't been since I was a kid that I've just stared up at the clouds and just wondered and didn't feel like I had to come up with any answers or make my grocery list or whatever we typically do when we have a minute, but just to stare up and wonder, which kind of goes into why this is important, is to really reveal what your space has to offer. Oftentimes, again, because of the society we live in, we're like, so what do I need to buy? I need to make a list of the things I need to purchase for this experience for my kids. And like, for example, going out and just laying on the floor and looking up at the clouds costs us absolutely nothing. And so oftentimes, you know, like if Jim, for example, was going to design an experience for kids outside at night, he may be thinking, okay, I got to get lamps and I've got to get, but him just walking outside was the experience, right? And so just really kind of embracing what our environment has to offer. And that leads right into the mental health of just connecting to the space and taking a moment to be present and grounded in our space is just kind of is the antidote or the remedy for rumination, or, you know, when we get in like, oh, this is a really bad day and this is going wrong and this is going wrong, just being present in your space and connecting with it just reminds you that you're part of something much bigger than yourself, and kind of stops that. What else do you want to add on the why for connecting to space?
Yeah, no, yeah, right on. I was just going to connect it to what Tessa said about the air. You know, it's like, what do we need to buy in education to make sure that we teach curiosity and lifelong learning skills and connect to TEKS and pre-K guidelines? And I'm saying TEKS because that's the Texas State Knowledge and Skills. And so whatever state, Common Core, whatever, wherever you are. And Kissa's like, there's air, you know, and like, what's the content there? Like if we stop for a second and really connected with air, we could see all these projects and wonders and curiosity and writing and poetry and science and math, and it's just there's so much there if we can just slow down and pause.
Right.
So,
well, even when Ellen was talking, it sounded like she was reciting like a poem that she wrote. It was really beautiful, and it was the tree, right, that's around her. I see that Deb had her hand raised.
Yeah, I have to tell you that I think this is such a challenge for all of us in this busy environment that we're in, where if we just take a minute and slow down, it is amazing how children respond to that when they can not be hurried and rushed, and how they can take in their environment and the little things, and they do it naturally, and we say, okay, that's great, hurry up, right? And so instead of using that as a moment to build their confidence, we sort of rush through because we have to get to the next thing. And I think my biggest bugaboo is, why do we have clocks in classrooms? Because clocks are driving the day, not children. And so I think every clock needs to be taken out of every classroom everywhere. And teachers need to just go with the children, not worry about trying to stuff the day with stuff that it's not really meaningful to them. So that's what I wanted to say. I love the slow down piece.
Thanks, Deb. I was just gonna say, did Deb just give us permission to go as long as we feel like tonight? Like, I don't need to be looking at the clock.
No.
Is that what you said? No?
I did not say that.
Oh, okay. So you want me to keep this current clock, right? Okay, no, because I'm a child. at heart.
Unfortunately,
Okay.
yes. I'm sorry.
Yeah, JK. No, that's fine. We forgive you. Jim, is your hand still? Did you have one more thing you wanted to share? We're gonna move to our.
Oh, okay.
Okay. It's still stuck on there, I think. Okay.
Okay.
But how do we connect to the space? Do you want to go with this?
Yeah, so these are just some of the resources. The Coyotes Guide, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, not just Google it or look it up on Amazon, but it's a book full of resources on how to connect and lead others to connect to your space. And really it's determined based on your location and content. So a lot of times when we, as I'm sure you guys do, think about the space you take either adults or children in prior to actually taking them out. So for example, you know, when we went to that one where the clouds, we did the clouds, right? We just saw this huge empty space. We're like, oh my gosh, this is the perfect space to lay down and look up at the clouds. Or it might be determined based on the content, right? So if we're taking them outside to take math outside, then we might think about the space and how we're going to utilize that and how we're going to get them to connect to that space. Anything else on that?
Yeah, it's really thinking about, there's a ton of ideas out there for the core nature connection routines and the Coyotes Guide. If you Google those, there's a bunch: sit spots, journaling, mapping, observational drawings. There's just a million different, and we only have an hour and a half tonight, so we're not going into detail about all those things, but there are amazing options out there. But you really want, again, our framework is about connecting to self, connecting to others, connecting to the space, connecting to the work. And so you need to make sure that the activity that you choose, if you're wanting to make sure that the people capture a certain content, you want to connect that and be intentional. So we just want you to take the time to do that, because we do believe that will have a better impact. So, okay. So connecting to the work. Okay, so when we say the work, we mean whatever it is the people are supposed to be doing every day. And some of your things, you might have the option to play all day because you're at a certain program, and that's beautiful. This framework can work there too. For today, because the description that was shared about this town hall was looking at how do we get more and more children in programs in public schools, public spaces, to have access to playing outside and access to outside. For this conversation, we're really kind of honing in just for that, because we're only together for an hour and a half. So we want you to think about, we're going to give you just a quiet minute or so to think. How might connecting to the self, others, and space, like we've just done, impact the confidence of a child guide? And if you would, please use the chat box to share like a sentence or two about how might connecting to impact the confidence of a child guide?
The experiences that you just went through, how might that impact the confidence?
And so we'll start seeing things come in.
Time and space to follow their interests. Time. Ugh, that's a big one. Yeah.
So there we go. There's another one. Because they feel more involved, not just a member of a passive learning experience, a safe place to take a risk, imagining the consequences and possibilities, that vulnerability, validation, seeing oneself through another's eyes, big picture, and the opportunity to slow down oneself and fill our own cups. Child guide, the teacher or the child, both. I didn't coin that term exactly. I've just kind of been throwing it around while I learn my own terminology that fits my philosophies, but I've used it for both. Yeah.
It's grounding. You don't feel lost and all over the place. You can better reaction to what's happening in the moment. Yes. And that is missing from schools all over our country. Excitement about what they discover encourages them to share. As a parent, and it boosts confidence for, oops, it just went down. For connecting to my child and their natural curiosity, sharing the experiences that they'll carry throughout their life. Yes.
Yeah, so I love the curiosity about the word child guide, because so a child could be guiding us, which they do all the time, not could, most is guiding us. And those of us who our job is to ensure an environment where children are growing in their abilities academically, intellectually, emotionally. We are also guiding, right? We're guiding one another. It's like a community of learners. So I love using this same exact question to ask about the confidence of children, because if you're using this in a classroom, you can use exactly the same framework for children. Okay, so connecting to the work is about the impact, the implementation, and the action plan. Okay, so after you have people, children, adults move through these three different connections, the purpose of doing it is to elevate, right? Elevate the abilities, elevate capacities, learn new skills, all of those things. And so the why we do this part is connecting outdoor learning environment to content need. And so remember, in this conversation, we're really focused on seeing what we need to do to advocate for more of the children who are in programs that aren't necessarily play-based or nature-based, that already have that philosophy, to encourage them to feel more confident about getting outside. We want to think about how to connect and how to meet that scaffolding. So if an educator is worried about the math skills, I can't do it. I don't have time to go outside. I have to teach the math skills, right? We need to really advocate and help them realize and slow down and see the math in the air. See the math in this flower that's blooming outside your door. See the math in the vines that I noticed some are growing back after the freeze and some are still brown, right? Where is the math that's already there? This is not on top of what people need to do every day. This is side by side, right? It's an avenue. And this section is usually the shortest section of the day, y'all. We have these people sometimes for 6 hours, sometimes for an hour, sometimes for an hour and a half. I would say that 65 to 70% of the time is connecting to self, to others in the space, right? 10%, 15% is like what I actually have to do. So many times you go to a training where they start telling you what you should do. This is what you should do. This is how you should do. And there has not been enough time to connect a reason why, to reflect on philosophy, to slow down and realize what's in front of us and what the outdoors have to offer. And so while there is, sometimes we feel like there's so much to teach these people. And I'm sure those of you who are professors and guides of, you're guiding older people to do these things out in the field, we feel like we barely have enough time with them. But what we realize is when we invest the right minutes doing the right thing, which is reflection, connecting, then the 10 minutes that you tell someone, now this is what you do instead, and this is the strategy, they are so ready to do it, right? We've had people who come and they sit with us all day, and immediately the next day we're getting text messages of things they're implementing and they're so passionate about and excited about. And we only spent like 10 minutes on what to do.
Right. And that's where
out of the whole time.
That term at the beginning of the title of this is shifting the mindset, because through connecting with self, connecting with each other, and connecting with the space, that's where the mind shift happens. So when we get to connecting to work, they're already bought in, right? They're like, oh my God, I want to do this tomorrow. Rather than, of course, as educators, their plate is full, rather than them seeing like, oh, this is one more thing I've got to do. Oh my gosh, this is too much. They think I cannot go, tomorrow I have to do it this way. So that's the mindset shift. So are we going to be able to give them some time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I think so. So yeah, we've got a few minutes. So what we're going to do next is, did I go to it? Okay. So how you do it is asking the group for reflective questions, which you just did in the chat box you shared with us. Look, see, the math is in the air. Oh, look, a little heart. Okay. So the next thing we do is the content of the implementation or matrix. I call it a matrix because I spend a lot of time in public education schools and they love a good plan. So I just have a couple of examples and then we're going to you're not going to fill out a matrix today, but we just are showing you, like, if you were to do this with someone who's really trying to think about it, work it out, make a plan for it, you'd kind of create something to where they can start seeing what they've learned and how they've learned it and put it into action in their classrooms. For today, you're just going to go into a breakout room for approximately 3 minutes or so, and just tell each other one thing that you might try with whoever you work with, okay? Just to think about that immediate implementation. So I think I'm going to try to open up this. I think I can open up the same groups so that you've already built somewhat of a trusting relationship with those people. If you're in your room and you're by yourself because people have left or something, please just hop back on and I will move your rooms. We'll see you back in about 3 minutes. Enjoy making an action plan together.
Welcome back. I know that probably went by really fast. But
let's just say this. I'm not in a hurry. My children are being taken care of by my partner. And so I will finish up. And then if you want to share your action plan with me, I would love to hang out and hear it. Okay. Because your words matter to me, all of you. I'm just glad you got a chance to maybe hear or share one thing that you're excited about, maybe giving a try, or that you've connected with something you're already doing. We have a final piece that we always do, and it's incredibly intentional. Is that we have a time for gratitude at the end of every training that we do. And it's looked a variety of ways based on our access to materials or where we are. But it's also showing the educators that we work with another teaching strategy to use in their classrooms that also have opportunity for content embedding, right? So here you see at one elementary school, we actually did the training at a local elementary school, and they didn't have a lot of outdoor components. And so we told the group before the training that we are going to give a donation of things. And so we had everybody loading up they found stumps to bring and donate to the campus that we were at. And they were working so hard together to get those out of the car and bring them into the school and place them in places. And it was just, I mean, you talk about awe, going outside. This was amazing.
Yeah. And even it was a couple weeks later that a teacher sent us pictures of the kids actually enjoying what we brought there. And so it was just full circle. It was really neat, but we don't often do that. We usually just say bye and leave, but just to show that gratitude to the space that was used was, it was really meaningful. Again, it just made us super present, which it's hard to be in the world of education these days. And then sometimes it was a poster of thanking people for allowing us to use this space. And then of course we have a circle where oftentimes we show gratitude to each other. So we'll invite you right now, just because of time, that if there was something that was said or someone showed up in a way that you really needed this evening, if you could just express your gratitude in the chat box, would be great. Anything else you want to add on that?
No, I just am really excited to hear a little bit about what was meaningful for you for this hour and a half of time that you spent with us, because when people share their gratitude, we as, people in the field learn something every time. So we really appreciate when people kind of share that gratitude. So I'm excited to hear that. I think too, it shows the teachers or the educators to do it with their students as well. So it's not just for the training, right? This is for children also. So.
Yeah, and a big component of the nature-based learning approach is showing gratitude to the space after you used it. And so it's one of our practices. But But yeah, but we are so grateful for this time that you guys spent with us this evening. Time is such an incredible, it's like our biggest asset, right? And so we appreciate you being here with us tonight. We'd love to continue the conversation. We understand we are butting up on the time to go, but we look forward to either staying on and just hearing some of your action plans, or seeing you in Greenville in a few months for IPA-USA's conference. Can't wait.
Or come do a circle with us. Come to
Yeah.
San Antonio and we will do a circle all together, or we can come to you wherever you are. Yeah. I'm loving reading these. Make sure you read each other's. After you put yours in the chat box, take a quick read at these other folks that are sharing.
Thank you, guys. Have a good evening. So
Thank
great
you so much.
to spend time with you.
Thank you. Good night.
What's a circle?
So a circle is where was Parker Palmer's? I gave that book away recently. What was that book? Oh, but it's Parker Palmer. There's circles that go. I have another. Look, can you explain circles? I'm gonna go grab a book. Really
Oh yeah. Circles have been used in historical things forever, in different cultures. We were inspired by a man named Parker Palmer. That's kind of who we read about and watched and did some work understanding where his circles were. It's about creating a space for belonging, like for people to feel like they belong. And we had like a whole little section. We're happy to, I don't know how we're going to share this stuff, Deb, but this will be recorded too, so you can go back and listen to our whole section about what circles are and like what are, you know, the different like parts of it. But it's really about people coming together to have a shared story, shared conversation about something where it's confidential, it's respected. Not everybody needs to share. It can be silent. It can be completely silent, and people can share or not share. And you don't really make a lot of eye contact, so there's no pressure. It's just kind of a space and learning how to be that very vulnerable and showing up in whatever way you're supposed to show up in that moment. So please share.
And this is another book, which is The Magic of Circle Work. And so it basically is the practice women, but anybody around the world using to heal and empower themselves. So it's just a way to connect, which is kind of what we need to do more of everywhere with all the people.
Well, I think when you're when you're using circles, people then build those relationships that they can then use as a support group. If you're in a school and you're helping to create confident guides outside, then they can, if they form those relationships, then they're able to use each other as support systems. And I think that's the beauty of that, building a community of learners that you're doing in those circles and the time that you're giving them to do that.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's beautiful. Any other questions for Amanda or Tessa?
Or Amessa, as we call each other together. Tessa, Amanda, Amessa.
I like to make a little bit of a messa in the world of education. Just
there you go.
Mix it up.
Does anybody want to stay on and share their plan? No? You're good?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amanda okay, say what it is again.
Amessa.
Amessa. Do you want to send me the PowerPoint and I'll add it to the town hall?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so just email it to me.
Okay.
And after we've edited out all the breakouts, I'll put it in with the town hall YouTube video. Does that work?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
That will have.
Jim's like, what is this technology stuff? Okay, now we can't hear you at all.
I'll type it.
There you go. Try that. I heard you for just a minute.
I think he's typing.
Oh, he's typing. Let me go to the chat box. So that will have the plan slide. Yes. It will have the whole enchilada. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I kind of, yeah.
Okay. Wonderful.
I missed that. Thank you all.
Lori, are you okay? You're good?
I'm okay.
And
Thank you.
you don't have any more questions?
Not yet.
All right. Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to stop the recording.